I never thought I'd find myself in this kind of mess, but here I am, trying to make sense of what happened with my wife, Lisa. We've been together for over a decade, married for most of it. Things weren't perfect, but I thought we were solid. She's always been a bit of a bitch, sharp-tongued, manipulative, the kind of woman who can cut you down with just a few words. But I loved her, or at least I thought I did. We had our routines, our little secrets, and I guess I always believed that was enough to keep us afloat. The trouble started a few months ago. Lisa became more distant, less interested in intimacy, snapping at me over small things. I'd catch her sneaking around her phone more often, hiding her screen when I got near. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the gut feeling was there. Still, I convinced myself she was just stressed or caught up in something else. I figured maybe work, or just the usual midlife boredom setting in. Then came the signs I couldn't ignore anymore. She started coming home late more frequently, say she was working late but I'd see her. Leaving the office around 9 or 10 at night, even on weekends. She'd shower as soon as she got back, avoid eye contact, and sometimes she smelled like perfume I didn't recognize. When I asked her about it, she'd brush me off, call me paranoid, or accuse me of snooping. She's always been good at twisting things around, making me second-guess myself. One evening, I decided to check her phone after she went to bed. I figured, what's the worst that could happen? I found texts from someone named Jake, talking about plans to meet up. The messages weren't just friendly, they weren't even close to being innocent. Flirty, suggestive, all about how they couldn't wait to see each other again. My stomach dropped. I felt like the floor had shifted under my feet. That's when I started piecing things together. The late nights, the perfume, the evasiveness. Everything pointed to something being seriously wrong. I was furious, but more than that, I was hurt. I never thought Lisa was capable of cheating on me, especially not with some college tour guide she met during her daughter's orientation. That's the part that makes it worse. She was supposed to be helping our daughter Emily settle into college life, not sneaking off to meet some guy for sex or whatever they were doing. It's like her priorities shifted, and I was just some guy she married, not the love of her life. When I confronted her about the messages, she threw a fit. Denied everything, called me crazy, said I was imagining things. That's typical Lisa. She always lies her way out of trouble, makes herself the victim, even when she's clearly the one in the wrong. But I wasn't going to let it go. I needed proof. I started digging more, watching her movements, checking her schedule, even installing a hidden camera in the living room. I wanted to catch her in the act if I could. And that's when I got the biggest shock of all. One night, I noticed her leaving the house just before midnight, acting suspicious. I followed her, kept my distance, and what I saw made my blood run cold. She was at the campus dorms meeting someone. I didn't see his face at first, but the way they were acting, close, intimate, told me everything I needed to know. I finally had my evidence, and that's when everything changed. I felt a strange mix of betrayal, anger, and despair. I'd invested so much in this marriage, in Lisa, and now I was faced with her lying, cheating, and destroying what we built. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the times I trusted her, all the moments I missed, all the lies she told. She's a bitch, no doubt about that. And now I had to decide what to do with this knowledge. The next morning, I woke up feeling numb but somehow more certain of what I had to do. I knew confronting her right away wouldn't get me anywhere. Lisa's a master at twisting things, and she'd probably deny everything again, accuse me of invading her privacy or being paranoid. No, I needed a plan, something precise. I sat there for a while, staring at the ceiling, trying to gather my thoughts. The footage I had was clear enough to destroy any of her lies. I could go straight to her now, call her out, but I knew that wouldn't be enough. She'd just spin her usual bullshit, manipulate the situation, and I'd end up more confused and hurt than ever, so I decided to wait. I wanted her to come home, to act normal, to slip up again. I didn't trust her, to be honest, but I knew she couldn't keep pretending forever. Meanwhile, I started thinking about what I'd do if she denied everything. I had to prepare myself for every possible reaction: anger, tears, maybe even more lies. I knew she'd try to make me out to be the bad guy, accuse me of spying or overreacting. That's just how Lisa works. She's good at making herself look innocent, even when she's caught red-handed. When she finally came home that afternoon, she looked tense, like she'd been running from something. Her eyes darted around as if she was trying to hide something. I watched her from the doorway, pretending to be busy with some chores, but inside I was already boiling. I couldn't let her keep lying to me. I was done being the fool in this game. I called her into the living room, kept my voice calm but cold, and threw the footage on the coffee table. Just laid it out there, her sneaking out, meeting Jake, the whole damn thing. Her face turned white, her jaw clenched. Her eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. She tried to deny it at first, of course. Said I was mistaken, that I was paranoid, that I was imagining her with some stranger. Then she started to get aggressive, saying I was crazy for accusing her of cheating, that I was just insecure and jealous. She threw in some little digs about how I was never enough, how I'd become boring, predictable, that maybe she was just looking for excitement. I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. I was furious. How dare she turn this around on me? I didn't hold back. I told her she was a lying, cheating bitch and that I'd had enough of her bullshit. The thing is, she didn't just deny it. She doubled down, said I was stalking her, that I was crazy and that she'd never cheat. No way, no how. Honestly, hearing her lie so convincingly made me feel sick. She's good at manipulation, I'll give her that. But I saw her crack under the weight of that footage. Her facade was slipping. Her eyes darted around, her voice shaking just a little, and for that moment I knew she'd been caught. The emotional aftermath hit me hard. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. All the love, all the trust gone. The betrayal burned so deep I couldn't breathe right. I was angry, but mostly I was hurt. How could she do this? How could she betray our family like this? I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind or too stupid to see it coming. I started crying, something I never do, because I realized I'd lost something I thought was unbreakable. That someone I trusted completely had been lying to my face every day. She kept trying to justify herself, throwing in that she was lonely, that Emily's college stress made her act out. But I knew better. I knew it was about more than just stress or boredom. It was about her seeking something she wasn't getting at home. I felt like a fool for believing the promises we made, for thinking I was enough. Now all I could see was her face, sneering, lying, hiding from the truth. I didn't want to get mad at first, but that didn't last long. Anger took over and I told her to pack her things, because I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where I was constantly lied to and cheated on. But even as I said that, I knew it wouldn't be easy. I'd spent years building this life with her, and the thought of losing everything, of starting over, was terrifying. Still, I couldn't stay with someone who disrespected me that way. I told her she had until the weekend to get her shit out of the house. I needed space, clarity. I knew this was just the beginning of a long, painful process, but I had to do it. I couldn't keep living in her shadow, constantly questioning whether she was telling me the truth or sneaking around behind my back. That's not a life I wanted anymore. That night I couldn't sleep. The house felt heavy, like it was pressing down on me with all the weight of betrayal. I kept replaying everything I saw, heard, and felt. The footage, her lies, the way she was so quick to deny it all. I felt a mix of anger and sadness so intense it was almost physically painful. I'd loved her once, thought we had something real, and now I was staring at the wreckage of what I believed was our life together. She had been so bitchy, so dismissive of my feelings, always making me feel like I was overreacting or just insecure. Turns out I wasn't paranoid after all. In the days that followed, I was on autopilot. I did what I had to do, started packing her things, keeping my distance from her and trying to process what this all meant. She was still around, throwing tantrums, claiming she was innocent, saying she didn't mean for it to happen. But I knew better. I saw how her eyes darted when I brought up Jake. I saw her trying to spin her lies, how her voice trembled when she was caught. It was pathetic, really. She thought she could just lie her way out of everything and I'd accept it. But I wasn't the fool anymore. Lisa's attitude was pure entitlement. She kept acting like she was the victim, like I was the one overreacting. She threw in some classic lines, calling me insecure, saying I didn't understand her needs, accusing me of being controlling. She's always been a master at twisting things, making herself look good while I was left feeling Like a monster. Every time she yelled, I felt my blood boil, but I kept my cool. I knew I had to be strategic. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me again. One night I caught her trying to sneak out again after I told her to stay put. She was tiptoeing around looking for her phone. I blocked her path and asked what she was up to. She tried to lie, said she was going to the store or visiting a friend. Yeah, right. I looked her dead in the eyes and told her I knew she was seeing Jake. Her face twisted, and she spat back some nasty comment about how I was crazy for spying on her. I just shook my head, feeling both disgusted and exhausted. That was the moment I realized she had no remorse. She was willing to keep lying, keep pretending she hadn't done anything wrong, just to keep this facade going. I knew she'd always be a bitch about this, probably blame me for everything, even though I had the proof right there. I also started thinking about how much I'd invested emotionally, financially, everything. And for what? Just to be lied to, cheated on and degraded. I've been a good husband, maybe not perfect, but I never cheated, never lied, never disrespected her. And she threw all of that away for some college tour guide who later became her resident advisor. The most hurtful thing was how dismissive she was of my feelings. She acted like she didn't care that I was devastated. The way she brushed off my pain, calling me overly sensitive or jealous, just made me see how selfish she really was. She's always been bitchy, quick to dismiss my worries, quick to turn things around on me. Now she was the one caught in a web of her own lies, and she had no idea how deep the damage was. I started contemplating what to do next. Part of me wanted to confront her again, tell her she was a lying, cheating bitch and get it over with. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. I needed to figure out what I really wanted, whether to try to save this mess or just cut my losses and walk away. I wasn't going to be swayed by her tears or her fake apologies. I'd learned that she's good at pretending, at playing the victim, but I also knew I deserved better. I deserved honesty, respect, and she was just a bitch, plain and simple. Over the next few days, I tried to keep my head clear, but it wasn't easy. Every time I saw her, I could see the guilt behind her bitchy smirk, the way she avoided eye contact or threw out some snide remark to deflect. It was obvious she knew she had screwed up big time, but she was too stubborn to admit it. Instead, she kept trying to manipulate the situation, acting like I was overreacting or that I was the one who caused this mess. Honestly, I was sick of her bullshit. I started making arrangements, thinking about the future. I talked to a lawyer just to understand my options. I wanted to be ready in case I decided to file for divorce. It was a strange feeling, like I was standing at a crossroads, knowing that whatever choice I made could change everything. I also knew I'd have to tell Emily, our daughter. That was the hardest part. She's only in her second year of college, and I didn't want to drag her into the mess, but I couldn't keep hiding the truth from her either. I had to be honest, even if it hurt. Lisa, of course, started turning the guilt back on me. She called me controlling, accused me of spying on her because I didn't trust her anymore. She's good at flipping the script, making herself look like the victim. She even had the nerve to complain about me invading her privacy, like I hadn't already uncovered her lies with the footage and my own observations. It was so typical, her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations. I just wanted to scream at her to stop lying and own up to what she did. But I knew that'd only make things worse. One night, she went so far as to accuse me of cheating on her first, saying I was probably the one who was unfaithful all along. That was the last straw. I looked her dead in the eyes and told her I'd never cheat, that I was faithful from day one, and that her betrayal was what broke the trust. She sneered at me, called me insecure and jealous, said I was desperate for control. I wanted to punch her, honestly. Instead, I told her she needed to leave, that I couldn't be around someone who thought so little of me, someone who was so selfish and manipulative. That's when she finally snapped. She threw her hands up, calling me all sorts of names: asshole, controlling, insecure, the usual. She stormed out of the house that night, slamming the door behind her. I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. Part of me was glad she was gone, that I wouldn't have to deal with her bitchy attitude any longer. But another part, the honest part, was crushed. I'd lost someone I thought was my partner, my best friend. I'd given her my trust and she threw it away. After she left, I stayed up all night staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd made the right choice. Deep down, I knew I couldn't keep living like this, constantly questioning, doubting, feeling like I was just waiting for her next lie. It hurt so much to admit that I'd been played for a fool, especially by someone I loved so much. But I also felt a strange sense of liberation. I finally saw her for what she really was, a bitchy, manipulative woman who was willing to destroy her marriage for a quick thrill. The days that followed were a blur. I focused on my work, on Emily, and trying to rebuild some sense of normalcy. I didn't want to dwell on the pain too long. I knew I had to keep moving forward, no matter how much it hurt. And I kept reminding myself that I deserved honesty, respect, and loyalty, things Lisa never really gave me. I kept thinking about how betrayed I felt, how she always dismissed my feelings, how she lied straight to my face. That's what hurt the most. The betrayal wasn't just about the affair. It was the fact that she thought she could lie and manipulate her way out of it, that she could be so bitchy and dismissive, and I'd just accept it. I still wonder what her real motivations were. Was she bored? Did she ever actually love me? Or was she just looking for excitement, some escape from her dull life? Whatever it was, I've realized I can't fix her. I can't change her. All I can do now is take care of myself, protect my peace, and try to move on from the woman who turned out to be nothing like I thought she was. Time kept moving, and with each passing day, I felt a little stronger, a little more certain about my decision. I knew I couldn't stay in this limbo forever, haunted by her lies and betrayal. The more I thought about her bitchy attitude, her constant manipulations, the more I realized I'd been a fool to trust her so blindly. I had to rebuild my life piece by piece, but it wasn't easy. The betrayal cut deep, and every time I saw her name or heard her voice in my head, I felt that familiar pang of anger mixed with sadness. One thing I did do was sit Emily down. I told her everything, about Lisa's affair, about the footage, about how much it hurt me. She was devastated, of course. Our daughter loved her mother, but she also knew that Lisa had lied to us for months. I could see the disappointment and confusion in her eyes. I told Emily that sometimes people make mistakes, and sometimes those mistakes are so big that they can't be fixed easily. I promised her I was doing everything I could to get through this and that I'd always be there for her no matter what. She was crying, but I held her tight and told her we'd be okay. That was a hard moment, but it helped me realize I wasn't alone in this. As the weeks went by, I started to get my life back in order. I moved some of Lisa's things out of the house, cleared my head, and focused on the things I could control. I also started seeing a counselor. Not because I was weak, but because I needed someone objective to help me process everything. The emotional roller coaster was exhausting. One day I was furious, the next I was just numb. I'd stare at the wall, replaying her bitchy sneers and lies, trying to figure out how someone I loved could turn into this cold, manipulative person. One thing I noticed was how much her attitude hadn't changed. Even after she left, she kept trying to contact me, sometimes blaming me for everything. She'd call, text, leave messages, all filled with her typical manipulative shit. How I was overreacting, how she didn't mean to hurt me, how she still loved me. But I wasn't buying it. I knew her game. She's always been good at making herself look like the victim, even when she's the one who's fucked everything up. Honestly, I was sick of her sob stories. I knew her kind, bitchy, selfish, always looking out for herself. One day, I finally found the strength to tell her to stop. I sent her a blunt message, telling her I didn't want any contact, that I was done, that I'd moved on, and that I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. It was the first time I stood up to her, really putting my foot down. That felt good. Like I was reclaiming some part of myself she tried to steal. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I'd learned my lesson. Never ignore the signs, and never let anyone treat you like shit just because you love them. Looking back now, I realize that this whole ordeal has changed me. I'm more cautious, more guarded, but also more aware of how some people, like Lisa, are just inherently selfish and manipulative. She played her part well, but I see through her now. I see the bitch underneath that pretty face, the one who thinks the world revolves around her and who'll do anything, lie, cheat, manipulate, to get what she wants. And honestly, I don't feel bitter anymore. just disappointed. Disappointed that I wasted so many years trusting her, only to find out she was just using me as a safety net while she fucked around. I've come to accept that some people aren't worth the heartbreak, and I've learned that being honest with yourself is the first step to healing. I still feel the sting of her betrayal, but I also feel a sense of relief. I don't have to live under her shadow anymore. I don't have to worry about her lying to my face or sneaking around behind my back. I can finally breathe again, and even though it hurts, I know I'll be okay. One day at a time. Now, looking back, I realize how much this whole experience has stripped away the illusions I used to hold about trust and loyalty. Lisa was always the bitchy type, quick to lash out, quick to lie, and completely dismissive of my feelings when it suited her. I see that now, clearer than ever. She thought she could get away with her little affair, with sneaking around, with turning my world upside down, and still expect me to pick up the pieces like nothing happened. But I'm done being that fool. The thing I've learned most of all is that you can't change people like her. You can only change how you respond to them. And I'm done responding with patience or hope that she'll somehow see the light. No, I've accepted that Lisa is just a manipulative, selfish woman who doesn't deserve my trust anymore. The betrayal hurt, sure. But what's worse is realizing how much I'd been blind to her true nature, how much I'd invested emotionally into someone who only cared about herself. So I've decided to move on. Not because I want revenge, though I admit, there's a part of me that's glad she got caught, but because I owe it to myself to rebuild my life without her bitchy attitude dragging me down. I've focused on my career, on Emily, and on finding some sense of peace. I've started dating again cautiously, but I've learned to trust my instincts. No more ignoring the signs, no more justifying her bad behavior. I see her for what she was. A lying, manipulative bitch who was never truly committed. In the end, this whole ordeal has taught me that love isn't about ignoring the red flags or making excuses. It's about respect, honesty, and loyalty. Things Lisa never really gave me, even when she pretended she did. I'm not bitter anymore, I'm just realistic. I know now that some people are better left behind and that healing takes time. I don't regret what happened because it showed me the truth about her and about myself. I want anyone out there who might be stuck in a similar situation to realize this. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let someone treat you like shit just because you love them. And when you finally see the truth, face it head on. It's painful, but it's also freeing. Trust me. Moving forward, I'm going to be better, stronger, and more cautious, because I finally learned that I don't have to settle for a bitchy, manipulative wife who's only out for herself. I deserve better, and I'm finally going to find it.